What if I told you that all of the world's most powerful people are in some kind of cult? Now, I know you're thinking, whoa, 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 hold up, Jamal, what are you going on about? But just hear me out, this is mental. Right, so to start off with, we all know who the Illuminati are. No one knows if they're real or fake or what really is going on. But of course, the most common theory is that these people are higher than the government and are actually controlling the world almost. Now, here's where things get crazy.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG Reels, Facebook, anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank the seekers, man, who's watching the videos entirely. Commented down below. Really appreciate the support. Find this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
Dirty facts about history that school probably didn't teach you, part 3. During the 1800s, women were prescribed cocaine tampons, and many believed it to be a particularly effective treatment for gynecological diseases. Egyptian pharaohs would masturbate into the Nile River to worship the gods and keep the river flowing and prosperous. The world's oldest joke dates back to 1900 BC and is about a woman not farting on her husband's lap. Yes, the world's oldest joke is a fart joke. Famous composer Mozart wrote a masterpiece entitled Leck mich im Arsch, which translates to lick me in the ass. In 1910, New Jersey Mayor Arthur Whitaker invented a spanking squad for young offenders. The ancient Romans used to use urine as mouthwash, and not only did they swish around human piss in their mouth, they swished around animal piss too. King Tut's parents were most likely brother and sister, causing the king himself to have multiple birth defects.
Facts that will ruin your childhood, part 1. Before Phil Lewis, the actor, played Mr. Mosby on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. In 1991, he was driving while intoxicated and hit a woman, killing her, and was charged with manslaughter. In the movie The Wizard of Oz, the Cowardly Lion costume is made out of real lion fur, so the actor is inside a dead lion, playing a lion. And have you ever wondered why Plankton always wanted the Krabby Patty formula? It's because he was abused by his parents when he grew up, and he was neglected by society, leaving him with no friends. He thought that if he could steal the Krabby Patty formula, he would be accepted into society. All Plankton wanted was some friends.
Here are the crazy things happening in the world right now. A man had a full-on argument with his AI girlfriend about using too many limes on the meat he was making.
I will add the lime to my finished tacos.
Well, fine. You do it however you want.
Canada has banned access to Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus on all federal networks after they discovered that more than 50 different government departments were watching thousands of hours of content during work hours. A man from Kansas went on the road with a backwards driving truck and was pulled over in less than 2 minutes. If you are anyone other than my wife, you can continue watching. A new study is showing that the woman in a heterosexual relationship is almost always right in an argument. A radioactive wasp's nest was found at a facility in South Carolina with radiation levels more than 10 times what the federal regulations allow. LeBron is apparently demolishing his $40 million mansion to build his dream home on the same lot. It's kind of crazy, to be honest, but you know, he's the greatest basketball player of all time, so he gets to do what he wants.
Things that actually happened at Disney parks that'll scare the hell out of you. Part 4. This one is super creepy. But the spirit of a man haunts Disneyland's Space Mountain, and sometimes people see him fall off the ride. Maria Westgate, a former cast member that worked at Disney, said, and I quote, "Mr. Wedway died while helping build the ride and never got to see it finished. Sometimes he'll ride next to you. When I worked at Disney, we'd have guests screaming that there was a guy next to them on the ride who was there but fell out." Now that is super creepy. This one's super scary and sad. In 1991, a girl tried to scare her cousin on Disney World's Haunted Mansion, but fell out and got dragged under a car. That's right, Kelly Ferguson was 15 years old when she boldly tried to jump from one car to another, but failed to nail her landing. Instead, she got caught under one of the doom buggies and was in critical condition, but did survive. Pretty cool!
Wow. Man, those Disney facts, bro. Makes you want to stay away from Disney World, man. Some weird crap be going down at that park.
This video was sponsored by National Geographic. Stay with me now. Hot take: Jaws is the greatest movie that never should have touched the screen. First of all, they were only supposed to shoot for 55 days. It took 159. They made not one, not two, but 3 animatronic sharks at $150,000 a pop, just for 4 minutes of shark screen time. The sharks malfunctioned so much, you had the crew calling them flaws. The movie caused legitimate anxiety attacks for the director, because filming was such a septic show that 27-year-old Spielberg thought the only real-life victim of Jaws would be his career in Hollywood. Except the project grossed $260 million domestically, becoming Hollywood's first summer blockbuster and changing the landscape of the film era. It also inspired a greater interest in sharks and eventually led to global conservation efforts. Even the OG author Peter Benchley would dedicate the rest of his life to marine conservation. And what better time to honor that than Jaws' 50th anniversary, where you can get even more behind-the-scenes insight by watching Jaws at 50, part of National Geographic's Shark Fest. If that's something you want to sink your teeth into, it's streaming right now on Disney Plus and Hulu, but you're gonna need a bigger screen. Not really. The more you know.
Story time on how I found out there was a hidden camera in my room.
For years, this teen's father secretly watched her through a hidden camera in her bedroom. Rebecca was 16 years old when she was woken up by her stepmother at 3 a.m., freaking out because she went through her father's phone and found a camera app which was installed in Rebecca's room. This camera was pointed directly at Rebecca's bed, hidden behind the wall, poking through a tiny gap. Mind you, at first the stepmom was furious. Not only did she find out about this hidden camera, but her husband was subscribed to several OF accounts and doing other questionable things on his phone. The next morning, Rebecca confronts her father and he gets super defensive and said that he installed the camera because she was sneaking out with her boyfriend. Rebecca does admit that her and her boyfriend were sexually active and her father knew. Her father proceeds to tell Rebecca to just bring her boyfriend over and approves that they can be alone in her room with the door closed, and he even installed a lock on her door so they had more privacy. So you mean to tell me this entire time this man was watching his teenage daughter and her boyfriend doing God knows what? Also, his initial excuse was completely contradicting because Rebecca's bedroom window had bars on them, so there was no way she could have been sneaking out from her room anyway. She eventually told her mom, who lived in a different state, and they reported this to the police, but nothing was done and the case was closed. Keep in mind, this man was recording his own daughter in her room. Imagine what else he had on that phone. And what's crazy is that the stepmother turned against Rebecca and completely changed the story and said that she actually knew about the camera and it was put there for security purposes, which is BS because she's in the video looking for the camera with Rebecca at 3 a.m. Since finding this out, Rebecca cut ties with her father and nothing was ever done.
Urban legend.
That is insane, bro. Her father hid that camera in there, looking at God knows what. The fact that the stepmom turned against her too, and he got away with it.
From around the world. The legend of Highway Sheila, located on Higginson Highway near Chatsworth, South Africa. Here's the story. There's a lot of different versions on how she came to be, but this is my favorite. Sheila was a young girl killed in a terrible accident on the highway. Due to her untimely death, she took to haunting to get revenge on the motorist who killed her. Described as a beautiful young Indian girl with long hair, she is said to hitchhike along the highway, captivating young men with her beauty. There's been numerous accidents and deaths on the highway. They actually nicknamed it Death's Highway. Due to the alarming number of accidents on the highway, the residents of Chatsworth actually think Highway Sheila is to blame. There's even a 2014 movie about it. Which country is next?
Do not watch this video if you're eating. This man was found with buckets of human remains in his basement. One prosecutor called this case one of the most bizarre investigations he's ever had in 33 years. Police in East Pennsboro Township were stunned when they got a call advising them that there was a man hoarding human remains. The caller stated that the individual had been keeping buckets of human skin and organs in his basement. The officers turned up to the house of Jeremy Pawley in June 2022 and confronted him. They were obviously incredibly concerned over what they might discover. As they knocked at his door, he told police that he was a collector. Police found 15 to 20 human skulls and skeletons that were being stored in the man's basement. He said he had legally purchased these items and he had a website which stated, "Remember you must die." The website also claimed that Jeremy's basement is some sort of museum and there's a picture on there showing human fetuses in jars. This is absolutely horrific. Police recovered 3 5-gallon buckets filled with body parts, including human skin, fat, a heart, kidney, 2 brains, 2 human livers, lungs, and a child's mandible with teeth. He was arrested and was charged with He was arrested and charged by police with abuse of a corpse, receiving stolen property and dealing in proceeds of unlawful activities. He was given 2 years of supervised probation, and he's also awaiting sentencing after pleading guilty to buying and selling stolen human remains.
This teacher slept with an 11-year-old and then gave him a Friends with Benefits bracelet. 42-year-old Allison Kranick, who worked at a school in Connecticut, has been accused of having a sexual relationship with an 11-year-old boy. The boy said that Allison forced him to sleep with her multiple times, and many of those times were in her car. They first communicated through iMessage and Snapchat, but then changed it up and moved the conversation to Discord when Allison found out that the child's parents monitored those apps on his phone. The boy also said that he snuck out of his house at least 14 times at 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. to meet Allison. She then made the boy a beaded bracelet with the acronym BFFLWB, which stood for Best Friends for Life with Benefits. And then Allison told the boy not to tell anyone she gave him the bracelet, and if someone asked, to tell them that it meant best friends forever for life or better. After 2 months of this going on, the boy ended the relationship and eventually told his family. And by the way, Allison is also married and has 2 young children of her own. She was charged and is being held on a $500,000 bond.
She's disgusting, man. I don't know.
What if I told you that all of the world's most powerful people are in some kind of cult? Now, I know you're thinking, whoa, 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 hold up, Jamal, what are you going on about? But just hear me out, this is mental. Right, so to start off with, we all know who the Illuminati are. No one knows if they're real or fake or what really is going on. But of course, the most common theory is that these people are higher than the government and are actually controlling the world almost. Now here's where things get crazy. This place right here is known as Bohemian Grove. Now the general public are not allowed into this place. It is always cordoned off, but even if you did get in there, you're not going to see anything. Because what happens there only happens once a year. Now once a year, all of the world's most powerful people, including leaders, all go and meet at this place for some kind of undercover meeting. No one knows the topics, nobody knows what goes on here. The evidence we do have suggests it's something very odd. There is a large statue in the middle, almost like a cult symbol, and in the evening it appears there's some kind of ritual. No one knows what happens there once a year. The theory is though it's something to do with the Illuminati.
Bohemian Grove. I've seen some video clips on that.
Creepy historical photos that will haunt your nightmares, Part 3. Back in the day, plague doctor outfits used to have extremely large noses, which held herbs and other nicely scented items which were believed to ward off the bad air which contained the sickness. The man who took this photo was Harvey Glatman, a serial killer in the 50s who posed as a professional photographer in order to lure models into his home. He then tied up, photographed, and strangled them, and was known as the Glamour Girl Slayer. Violet of Edinburgh was voted the scariest woman alive in 1882 and 1884. She was a part of a vampire group in the UK, where its members would summon the dead and have to donate their blood in order to get in. This is Mrs. Chalifo, who faced poverty and was evicted from her apartment in 1948. She then had to sell her 4 children on the streets of Chicago.
That is wild. Y'all saw that sign?
If you're thinking about ignoring your gut instinct, don't. Here are 3 reasons why you should trust it. Reddit user Pagerama said that she was at a festival with her friends, and one of them really wanted to go on this giant drop-style carnival ride. Pagerama said that at this particular time, she just really didn't feel good about going on the ride, and suggested that they do something else instead. Later that day, they found out that a girl had died on the ride, just a few hours after they were there. Apparently, she wasn't harnessed in properly, and she fell out as the ride dropped. A Reddit user Will called Jessica said that she was walking back from her grandmother's house when a car pulled up beside her. As she kept walking, the car slowly followed. When she looked into the car, there was a man in his 30s or 40s who had the evilest grin on his face. She said that his face has still never left her mind. As he was slowly coming toward her, his eyes stayed on her. She screamed out for help and ran until she found someone that let her into their house. The man didn't leave until they called the police. When they came, they searched his car and found handcuffs, a blindfold, and a big container with 2 holes poked in the top. Her instincts saved her from being kidnapped. Anonymous said that after a party many years ago, he was driving home at like 4 in the morning with his friend who was passed out in the passenger seat. He was driving fast down a steep hill that's like half a mile long. He was on autopilot as he drove down that street every day. Suddenly, About half a block from a major intersection, which he had a green light for, he heard a voice in his head. It said these exact words: "You may want to slow down, because if you don't, you might lose your life." He said that it was weird, because that's not really what his tone of voice sounds like. Anyway, he slowed down as he was entering the intersection, and a car blew the red light at about 60 miles per hour, right in front of him. He said that it was so close that he nearly threw up. He started shaking and yelling at his friend about how he had just saved their lives. His friend just groaned and went back to sleep.
Imagine going to a family Christmas dinner and almost everyone dies from poisoning. This woman tried to kill her husband's entire family by giving them a cake she baked that was laced with arsenic. 3 family members passed away, 3 others were hospitalized, and this woman who poisoned everyone happened on December 23rd when 42-year-old Diaz Mora baked a cake and invited her husband's entire family over. That evening, they began cutting the cake that they would normally eat on Christmas Eve, and almost everyone complained about the taste and that it tasted a little weird. But they still ate a significant amount of cake, and almost everyone felt sick right away, and 3 people died right then and there. Investigators tested all the ingredients in the house and found that the flour used in the cake was laced with arsenic. But what's absolutely crazy is that a couple of months earlier, Diaz's father-in-law also suddenly died, and they exhumed his body and found high levels of poison. So they think that she also took his life. Now, you guys are probably wondering, well, what was the motive? Why did she do this? At first, the family didn't understand what caused her to commit this crime, but then they thought about it and they remembered a disagreement they had 20 years ago. 20 years ago, and they believe that she might have not got over this disagreement, and that's why she tried to unalive everyone. But things don't even end there, because while Diaz sat in prison, her husband told her that he wanted a divorce. And
totally right. With the big cup, I gotta do a lot more than 6 facts. So, fun facts until the Orbis overflow. If you met every person on Earth for just 1 second, it would take you 250 years to meet everyone. Without saliva, you cannot taste your food. 8% of people have an extra rib. The sentence, "wow, you are cool," is taken as sarcasm 95% of the time. You would have to scream for 8.5 years to produce enough energy to heat a cup of tea. Chocolate contains phenylethylamine, which is the same chemical your brain releases when you fall in love. It's actually possible to die of a broken heart. Bananas are a natural sleep aid, considering they contain melatonin. Your heart pumps about 2,000 gallons of blood a day. Most lipstick contains fish scales. And it looks like I'm out of time. Follow for more fun facts.
She was so evil, grass won't even grow on her grave. Trigger warning. In 1905, in Pineview, North Carolina, a little girl was born and named Jeanette. Jeanette's mother said, "It was summertime. We were out cropping tobacco when my water broke. My husband and father rushed me to the tobacco barn where we delivered our baby, whose cord was wrapped around her neck. She wasn't breathing. She was turning blue. My father took the goat hoof shears and cut the cord from around her neck, and that was when she took her first breath. From that point on, I called her my little miracle, but I had no idea just how much of a demon that child really was." Now, despite her family loving her and supporting her in every way, they noticed that Jeanette was displaying some very concerning behavior. Something was wrong with her. Jeanette began abusing animals and other children, and at 4 years old, she threw her baby cousin out of a window, permanently disabling him. At 7, she stole razor blades from a store, broke them up, and put them in her mom's food, but luckily her mom found them before she ate it. She lured a little boy out to the creek bridge, pushed him off the bridge, broke his leg, and left him there. He wasn't found until 3 days later. So, of course, all throughout school, Jeanette was a big bully, and she was constantly beating up and threatening other kids. By the time Jeanette was 9 years old, she had a long history of killing family pets. She killed 5 dogs, 6 cats, 4 goldfish, 17 rabbits, 7 hamsters, and 2 parrots. Why in the hell would her family keep giving her more pets? They were enabling a serial killer. Jeanette was 10. She lured 2 of her cousins and their dog out in the woods, and she's all 3 of them. The 2 cousins did survive, but the dog didn't, and she stole his tail. They never found it. They were kicked out of church after Jeanette was caught stealing money from the collection plate and feeding it to the toddlers in Sunday school, and she was also caught choking 2 other children. She couldn't be left alone with anyone. Jeanette's mom said, "For whatever reason, I felt like I messed up with Jeanette, so when she was 10, me and my husband began trying for another child." Why would you bring another child around this demon? When Jeanette was 12, we had our son.
Dark things Disney doesn't want you to know, Part 4. Today, let's talk about the mysterious disappearance of Rebecca Corium. Rebecca Corium was a 24-year-old worker on the Disney Wonder cruise ship. On March 22, 2011, while working on the cruise ship, Rebecca disappeared without a trace. This is one of the last photos taken of her, and it was from CCTV footage. At 5:45 a.m. that morning, footage revealed Rebecca talking on the phone with someone. She seemed visibly distressed. Now here's where it gets twisted. Many people believe that Disney knows exactly what happened to Rebecca, but are trying to cover up this whole thing. Let me explain. For starters, the captain of the ship said that Rebecca was just washed over by a big wave. They then gave Rebecca's parents a sandal and said that this was hers and it was retrieved from the deck that she was last seen on. Number one, the sandal wasn't her size. Number two, it wasn't her style. It was also revealed that Disney had edited the CCTV footage. Check out part 2 on this case for more information.
Today I'm going to show you one of the scariest things on the internet. When is the last time any of you guys have actually checked your spam folder? Well, today I got really bored and I was checking my emails and I clicked on my spam folder and I came across this. This is a spam email and it is basically threatening me that if I don't send $1,300, they're going to ruin my life. Firstly, I already know you and all of your loved ones very well. Secondly, the occasion for which I'm writing to you is not the happiest one for a friendly greeting. The next part of this email then proceeds to tell me that it has access to my webcam and that it's been monitoring my activity for the last few months and I've been up to some not good things. Apparently, I've been watching a highly controversial video, they recorded it. Then they proceed to tell me that they have access to my entire contact list and they're going to be sending this controversial video they recorded of me to all my friends, colleagues, and family. Here is the bad part. I can go further and put all of these files as well as the recorded fun of you and your hacked contents with hardcore videos. Then they proceed to say, send me $1,300 and I won't send it. Well, they got me really interested. Because I was like, there's no way people are actually dumb enough to fall for this scam, right? They have made a total of $4,547. So that makes me wonder, what type of videos are these people who are sending the money watching? Look, I'm not telling people to do this, but they've made about $5 grand in like 4 days. Not that bad. But the real question is, what type of videos were these people watching where they felt scared enough to actually send the money? Be sure to like and follow for more videos tomorrow.
This little boy lost his life by treadmill due to his father. So this man is currently on trial for this. So I just watched the video, and on the video, the little boy seems to be walking for a long time. The father walks over, speeds up the treadmill while talking to the little boy. Then he speeds it up some more. Then he inclines it, and the little boy is struggling. You can see his little legs just going as fast as they can to keep up with the treadmill. Like he's full on sprinting, and at some point, he can't keep up, and he falls off. Like he just rolls off the treadmill and hits the ground. The father picks him up, tosses him back on the treadmill, bites him on top of the head while holding him down on the treadmill and making his feet keep up with the speed. As soon as the father lets him go, he rolls off the treadmill again, bumps his head, hits the floor. He jumps up, gets back on the treadmill, tries to keep up with it again, falls. He repeats this about 3 or 4 times. That's where the father is biting him on the head right there. So eventually the father does slow the treadmill down and brings the incline down, but he makes the boy continue to run. So the father and the mother does have like some type of joint custody, shared custody type of situation, I guess. And the mother is the first one to report the injuries to child protection. And she tells him to take their son to the hospital, and he does. While at the hospital, that's when the little boy revealed that his father made him run on the treadmill because he was fat. This little boy is little, even if he was fat. And so the next day when they wake up, the little boy is stumbling, he's slurring his words, he's nauseous, so he does rush him to the hospital. And while they're getting a CT scan, the little boy has a seizure, and they have to take life-preventing measures, and they were unsuccessful. The little boy did pass away. Now, the autopsy revealed that there were blunt force injuries. It was cardiac and liver contusions, sepsis. There was lacerations on his heart and liver. Now, if you go to YouTube and watch the video, because his father is currently on trial, and it shows the video, when y'all see how hard this little boy kept hitting that treadmill when he fall, and the way his dad would put him back on there, you'll see why he had the injuries that he had. And they have offered the father a 30-year plea deal, and he turned it down. They got footage. I'm glad he turned it down. He gonna get even more time.
This is his own kid, man. People are just
3 children were found in a basement wrapped like mummies. In 2003, the Pasadena area was shaken when 4 young children went missing over an 18-month period. There were no witnesses, no leads, and this left the entire community terrified. The case finally broke when police received a 911 call from a boy who went by the name of Mikey and said, "My mom is scaring me." Sheriff Robert Miller went to the home for what should have been a routine welfare check, but he never made it out. He was later found deceased inside and mauled so badly that investigators never really knew what exactly happened to him. Once police arrived, they started searching the home and they went down in the basement, and that's when they discovered 3 of the missing children. Each one was deceased and they were wrapped in fabric like mummies, and they were placed in disturbing positions. The person behind these kidnappings was Abigail Reed, and she wasn't in the basement. She was found upstairs in a hollow hallway. In the kitchen, investigators had discovered a handwritten note that they believed that Abigail had wrote. The note said, "The 4th one is different. He's drawn to the darkness. He'll survive because he's the one." The 4th child that she is talking about is that young boy who called 911, whose real name is Michael Morris. During captivity, Abigail had brainwashed him into thinking that she was his real mother. Police had discovered him locked in a closet, malnourished, and deeply traumatized. After that incident, Michael had spent nearly 20 years in a psychiatric hospital in San Bernardino County. But in October of 2024, he was released. Around that same time, Abigail's younger sister Alice was promoting a book about her sister's life and crimes, and all of that publicity triggered Michael. On Halloween night, Michael had attacked Alice in her home, unalived her boyfriend before heading to the TV studio where she had just appeared. Once he was there, he opened fire and unalived 7 people before stabbing the host, Jennifer Novak. Jennifer fought back, turned the knife on him, and stabbed him in the face. Michael survived, was arrested, and is currently awaiting trial in 2026. To this day, Michael has never really explained what happened inside of that house, and in fact, he has never spoken a single word since that incident. But here's the twist, none of this is real. The missing children, the disturbing note, the boy who never spoke, even the Halloween massacre, it's all a part of a chilling plot for a brand new horror movie called Traumatica. This film blends horror with the realism of true crime to make you think that this was just ripped from the headlines. And that's what makes it so terrifying.
The child is believed to have been abducted from his home.
Don't make a sound. If I can hear you or see you, then the monster will come and get you.
You look nervous.
Traumatica hits theaters September 12th, so let me know if you're gonna go see it.
They give me scary vibes, bro.
Qui est le plus beau, qui t'a devenir mégalo. Viens donc chatouiller mon ego. Allez, allez, allez.
We ain't going to sleep.
They hid their daughter's body in their family restaurant. On January 2017, 5-year-old Ashley Zhao was beaten to death by her mother, 30-year-old Ming Ming. Ming Ming then reported Ashley missing and said that she went to take a nap in the family restaurant's back room, and when she came to check up on her that night, she was gone. But after police investigated, they found that no one saw Ashley leave the restaurant. The next day, police found Ashley's body lifeless in the family restaurant's back room. After interviewing Ashley's parents, Ming Ming admitted to hitting her daughter repeatedly in the head, and then she passed away. Apparently, she did this because Ashley was having accidents. After the beating, Ashley's father noticed that she was gasping for air and green fluid was coming out of her mouth, and then she stopped breathing. Ming Ming then ordered her husband to hide their daughter's body in the backroom restaurant. The couple basically carried on with the restaurant's hours of operation while their daughter laid lifeless in the back room. Ashley's father pleaded guilty and received 12 years in prison, and Ming Ming was sentenced to 22 years in prison.
Here's 5 things. Mimi sounded like she was possessed by the damn devil. That's something. That's like demonic behavior right there, bro. And y'all just moving on with the rest of your day acting like nothing happened. Just going back to just selling food at y'all restaurant. You gotta keep a close eye out, Seekers, man.
Things our parents lied to us about.
Cracking your knuckles will give you arthritis. This isn't true. The noise is caused by negative pressure temporarily pulling nitrogen gas into the joint. If you swallow gum, it will stay in your stomach for 7 years. This is not true. It will be excreted within a few days. Sitting too close to the TV will hurt your eyes. This is actually a very popular misconception. A long-term extensive study has shown that myopia in children has nothing to do with this. If you keep going cross-eyed, you'll get stuck like that forever. This is simply false. Your hair will grow faster the more often you cut it. This isn't true. There are a number of factors affecting it, such as age, hormones, and even the time of year.
Here are 3 terrifying animals that you're glad are extinct. Number 1, the megalodon shark. This animal grew up to 60 feet long, and one tooth could be the size of a human. Megalodons were meat-eating creatures that could literally kill anything. Number 2, the Caprasuchus. This animal is a crocodile T-Rex hybrid. It has long legs and is extremely fast. I can guarantee that you won't be able to outrun this guy. Number 3, the Titanoboa. This snake weighed about 2,000 pounds and grew up to 40 feet long. This snake would kill their prey with constriction, which means they would suffocate them to death.
This doesn't look like something out of Anaconda, bro. Like that one Ice Cube fought at the end. Glad those gone, man. I don't do snake seekers. I just can't do that. That's an edit. Spot them out.
Here's what would happen to you if you just stopped eating. In the first 6 hours, everything would be normal as your body breaks down food to provide energy for your brain. But after 6 hours, all that energy is used up. So you begin to starve, entering a state called ketosis, which is when your body uses excess fat to produce energy. After 72 hours, your body will begin breaking down muscle for energy, essentially eating itself. And after 1 to 2 weeks, you're more likely to die from the common cold than starvation.
Morbid Facts, Part 467. In 2013, double amputee and 4-time Paralympic gold medalist Oscar Pistorius shot his girlfriend 3 times through a locked bathroom door, claiming he mistook her for an intruder. During his murder trial, Pistorius removed his prosthetics and hobbled on his stumps, while apparently attempting to garner sympathy and a more lenient sentence. But the judge wasn't buying it and sentenced the athlete to 15 years in prison for murder. This is the skeleton of a female vampire pinned to the ground with a sickle across her throat to prevent her from returning from the dead. It was found during an archaeological dig at a 17th century cemetery in Poland. In the late 1800s, there is an urban legend about a demonic figure roaming around the Arizona deserts that killed multiple people. It turned out to be a feral camel with the decaying corpse of a male soldier strapped to its back. Likely the tragic result of Jefferson Davis's attempt to create a camel division in the U.S. Army.
The camel was eaten?
Here's why bees die after stinging you. When a bee stings you, it buries its barbed stinger deep into your skin. Then it releases a dose of venom filled with protein-rich substances that makes the sting painful. The venom also affects your skin cells and can also affect your immune system. But all of this comes at a huge cost to the bee. After inserting their barbed stinger into a person, they are unable to pull it out. The only way they can free themselves from the stinger is to rip their bodies apart, leaving the stinger behind. Unfortunately, the stinger also contains parts of the bee's muscles, nerves, and digestive tract. And without these vital body parts, the bees cannot survive and suffer a gory death.
So when that bee hits you like this, it's it, bro. It got its one good hit in, and then it just like, hey, that's all I got. I'm out, bro. Wow. And the more you learn about these animals, these insects, truly changes the way you think, man. If you told me that as a kid, I wouldn't believe it.
This woman was married to a TikTok serial killer for 7 years, but now she's turning back to TikTok for help. You see, this is her ex, Kareem Salim. But before he became known as the New Cairo Butcher, he was a TikToker with over 600,000 followers teaching people American slang. But then, in May this year, he was arrested for the murder of multiple women in Egypt, and a few months later was found guilty and sentenced to death. This case was huge in Arab media due to how shocking the crimes were. Investigators found that he had soundproofed his apartment so that when he tortured his victims, no one would hear them scream. It was so gruesome that when videos, which he would record himself, were played in court, his entire defense team of 5 lawyers immediately withdrew from the case and apologized to the judge for ever representing him. And I'm skimming over this, but it's like Ray William Johnson next video kinda bad. Anyway, his ex-wife, who had a child with Kareem but had been separated for the past 3 years, claimed that she had to go into hiding and flee to the UK because he tried to kill her and her sister multiple times. But then just yesterday in a TikTok, she said that Kareem had taken her son and he's now with Kareem's mother either in Egypt or America. So she's desperately trying to raise awareness so she can find him and be reunited. And if you want more details, I've tagged her profile below.
Man, she was ready to a TikTok. Freaking sick. Bro, I'm telling you, man, these social medias, bro, personalities, you never know what's behind them. How did he have a following that big and he was getting away with it for that long? Makes you look at the world differently.
Morbid Facts, Part 466. During an SAS training exercise in 1996, 21-year-old Bear Grylls broke his back after falling 16,000 feet when his parachute failed to open. His surgeon wasn't sure if Grylls would ever walk again, but the survival expert climbed Mount Everest just 18 months later, becoming the youngest Brit to ever do it. Here's a photo of 13-year-old Barbara Kent and her fellow campers playing in a New Mexico river, just hours before the first atomic bomb was tested 40 miles away from them. Over the next few days, the area was covered in fallout flakes that the campers thought was snow, only it was hot instead of cold. The US government had selected the site for its supposed isolation, but in reality, thousands of people were within a 40-mile radius and weren't evacuated nor warned before the test. Despite being diagnosed with 4 different types of cancers throughout her life, Barbara was the only girl in the above photo who lived past the age of 30, somehow making it to 83.
I never knew that fact about New Mexico. They didn't even evacuate.
You guys remember when this man attacked the judge after she gave him a sentencing that he wasn't too happy with? So before this happened, he was sentenced to 19 months to 4 years in prison. But after attacking the judge, he was just sentenced to 26 to 65 years in prison. But this video made me feel so uneasy because look at him. He looks like he wants to jump over there and attack the prosecutor. Then he explains himself and says that on that day when he attacked the judge, he just saw red.
Like, this is not fair. All I see was red and all I heard her say, oh, this, she said, I finally watched the whole video. I was standing here in the courtroom with all of you guys. These are the best.
The question to myself, how did he have hops that high that he even leapt that high and even got to the judge? That shouldn't have been possible. But look what happened, man. He said he saw red and then he got 65 to 25 years instead of that Larry sentence before, man. Gotta think before you act, Seekers.
Best elf on the shelf pranks. These elves are ironing out the wrinkles in the chips. This elf is disguising the Brussels sprouts as chocolates. And this elf is doing target practice with a bottle of ketchup. At least his aim is kinda good. And this elf opened up his own car wash. And this elf managed to sneak his way up to the cookie jar. And this elf has a poop museum. But that's exactly what I expected the unicorn poop to look like. Make sure you don't have any of this freshly squeezed juice, because I don't think it's juice. They wrapped up the entire bathroom. How are you supposed to use that? And these elves are fishing in the sink. These elves know how to party. They're bungee jumping.
He was left in a tanning bed for 3 days until his body was discovered. On November 8th of this year, 39-year-old Derek Sink visited a Planet Fitness to sign up for a membership. He was accompanied by his girlfriend Heather and her daughter, but while he was signing up, they left to a nearby store. When they returned, Derek was gone. They noticed that Derek's car was still in the parking lot, but they believed that maybe he had left the gym. However, as the hours started to pass by with no sign of him, they started to get concerned. Derek's family finally reported him missing on November 10th. The next morning, Derek's probation officer had visited the gym, which was his last known location. He made a shocking discovery when they found his body inside of a tanning bed, and it was believed that he was there for 3 days. This discovery was made when a worker noticed a bad odor coming from the tanning area. As the investigation began, Derek was wearing an ankle monitor, and it revealed that he had never left the gym. Family members revealed that Derek struggled with addiction, and once his body was found, they found a needle in the tanning room with him. My biggest question is how the workers did not notice that his body was there for 3 days in that tanning bed. It really does not make sense.
Staying away from Planet Fitness, bro. They can't even check on if he can tan room in 3 days. What else are they doing to that equipment, man, that they not checking out properly? 3Ds, come on now. Staying out of that tanning room. That's a no for me.
These are the worst Christmas gifts of all time. Up first, we have this savage grandma. She sent her daughter a gift card, but it said, maybe next year you'll make us proud. Ouch. And here's another grandma who put almost no effort into the gift. She sent her granddaughter a used notebook with scribbles inside. Next, this guy asked his dad for a GPS for the new car he bought that year. But instead, his dad gifted him a map. And this girl received a creepy porcelain doll from her grandma. And she's been terrified of it ever since and believes it's haunted. Which I think it is.
Do you guys remember the two girls who recorded their murder before their bodies were found near a wooded area?
Trying to identify the suspect in this photo and this voice.
On February 2017, 13-year-old Abby Williams and 14-year-old Liberty German were walking along Delphi Historic Trails, Indiana, when they snapped these photos right before they went missing that evening. Police suspected that the man in this photo was involved in their disappearance and murder, but they didn't know who this man was. The girls' bodies were found the next day very close to where they took those photos. And police received multiple tips that the man in the recording and photo on Liberty's phone was 50-year-old Richard Allen. Richard was arrested and charged, but he pleaded not guilty and kept his innocence. But recently, on April 3rd of this year, Richard called his wife Kathy and confessed to murdering both Abby and Liberty. Investigators believe that Richard forced the girls down a hill and took their life with a .40 caliber. Let's talk about what happened to Jacob
Finally admitted to it.
His killer is still out there. Jacob was born on July 1st, 1986 to his mother Brenda and to his father Gene in Texas. He had an older brother named Eric, and Eric was so excited about having a new baby brother. This is something that he really wanted for a long time, and the day that Jacob was born was just like the best day ever for everyone. Now their father Gene wasn't really in the picture. He was actually having an emotional affair with another woman, and when Brenda found out about that, she decided to leave him. She grabbed the two kids, she packed everything up, and they all moved to Socorro, New Mexico. Now, the reason they moved there is because that's where Brenda's family was, so she figured that they would be able to help watch the children while she went to work and, help provide for the family. Now, during this time, Brenda started to grow closer to an old family friend. Now, Eric asked that we do not use this man's name, so for the sake of the video, I'm just going to refer to him as Nick. Nick and Brenda pretty much grew up together. His sister actually married Brenda's brother, and his aunt was Eric's godmother. So in a way, they all had some type of connection, and when Nick entered their life, Eric was very happy about this. Nick was very kind to him. He would watch movies with Eric, he would take care of baby Jacob, and Eric just felt like this was the father figure that he had been looking for. He was just very charismatic, and in December of 1986, Brenda and Nick decided to move in together with the two children. Unfortunately, soon after Nick entered their lives, baby Jacob started to receive unexplained injuries. The first incident that happened is when Brenda noticed that Jacob had a skinned ear. So she took him to the doctor, and as they were trying to figure out what happened, Nick came over to Brenda and said that Eric was responsible for this injury. He said that Eric had picked up Jacob from his crib and then dropped him to the floor. That the reason he had done this is because Eric was jealous of his new baby brother. So Brenda goes over to Eric, she asks him about this, and she was able to get Eric to admit that yes, he did this. Now keep in mind that at this time, Jacob is only 6 to 7 months old, and Eric is 6 years old. So for a 6-year-old to reach over to a crib, pick up a baby, and then drop him to the ground, it just kind of seemed odd. But this is what Nick was telling Brenda. He was telling her that he had seen Eric be jealous before, and that this wasn't the first time that Eric had injured baby Jacob. The second injury occurred 2 to 3 weeks later. This is when the kid's grandmother, Merlinda, was taking care of baby Jacob and noticed a lump on his head. Took him to the doctor, and they told her that this injury came from a blow to the head and that Jacob had a hematoma, and that his injury needed to be drained and lanced immediately. This is a huge injury. This isn't something that's caused by just like playing around or getting a thump on the head. Once again, Nick blamed Eric for this injury, and he told Brenda that he saw Eric kick baby Jacob in the head. Eric says that he has no memory of actually kicking baby Jacob, but he just feels like that would not be possible. He was only 6 years old, so how could a kick from a 6-year-old cause such a big injury? Again, no one saw Eric kick baby Jacob. The only person that saw this was Nick. And at this point, he had been blaming Eric for all of these unexplained injuries that baby Jacob had. So after all of this happened, Brenda decided to send Eric to go live in California with his father. However, even with Eric out of the picture, the injuries to baby Jacob did not stop. Okay, more in part 2.
Things you've never seen before. NASCAR
All
cars
of
can
the Christmas
actually go
gifts.
this fast. Here's a video x-ray of a dog devouring its food. And this is what the inside of a violin looks like. It looks like a one-bedroom apartment in New York. Believe it or not, but right now you're looking at 1 million colors. In this picture, the color of each pixel is slightly different. This picture hasn't been photoshopped in any way. It's actually just the darkest material in the world. Before I tell you what it's called, I just found a way to make a bunch of new friends by live streaming with 0 requirements. So if you want to try live streaming, just press right here. Known as Vantablack, this substance absorbs nearly all the light that strikes it. And when it's painted on a 3D object, it makes it look completely fake because of how dark it is.
Let's talk about the disappearance of 6-year-old Katie Jacobs and how this doll and a necklace helped solve her case. Katie had gone to the Potomac Mills Mall in Virginia with her family. At one point, she had gone off with her Aunt Susan and her cousin Jeremy to go play in the arcade. However, her Aunt Susan said that she needed to go and grave a lighter for her husband because his birthday was just around the corner, so she left Katie and Jeremy alone. Jeremy says that he was playing a video game while Katie was standing next to him and that she actually wanted to leave to go get some ice cream. So he finished up his game, and when he looked back to where Katie was standing, she was gone. He went to go tell his parents, and his mom called the police and reported her niece as missing. The police and the FBI arrived at the scene and immediately put the mall on lockdown. They began handing out flyers with Katie's face on them and were asking the crowd if anyone had seen her. However, no one in the mall had seen Katie. Now, a week earlier, a young girl named Jessica Davis had been abducted from a mall and found dead 3 days later. The FBI was worried that this might be the same offender. So they began to look through the surveillance footage at the mall to see if they could retrace Katie's last steps. And they spot her leaving the arcade, and you can see her looking over at someone that's standing next to her, possibly walking alongside her, but they can't make out who this person is. And 7 seconds later, Katie disappears. There's no other footage of Katie leaving the mall, so they believe that she and her abductor are still inside. A canine dog tracks Katie's scent and leads police to a trash can. Inside the trash can, they found Katie's necklace. The clasp was broken, and it appeared as if someone had ripped this necklace from Katie's neck. With this information, the FBI no longer believes that Katie's abduction is related to Jessica Davis. This seems personal, and whoever ripped the necklace from Katie's neck did it with rage. Since they now believe that this is a family abduction, FBI agent Reed and Morgan head over to Katie's house to see if they can find any clues. There, they find this doll in Katie's room. They believe that this doll represents how Katie feels. She feels dirty and ugly. And Agent Reed and Morgan believe they know why. So back at the mall, FBI agents ask Katie's mom how she got this necklace. And she says that Katie just found it at school one day. Now, this necklace was very expensive, so there's no way that Katie just randomly found this at school. So why did she lie to her mom about it? This is when the FBI begins to get suspicious of Katie's family, so they interrogate Katie's Aunt Susan and her Uncle Richard separately. During his interrogation, Uncle Richard actually reveals that he hasn't smoked in over a month. Why did his wife Susan say that she left Katie and Jeremy alone to go and grave a lighter for him, if he hadn't even smoked in over a month? When the FBI confronts Susan with this, she breaks down. She reveals that her husband Richard has been abusing Katie and that he was the one that gave her the necklace to keep quiet. Susan knew about the abuse, and instead of helping her niece, she decided to abduct Katie and get rid of her. She figured that if Katie was gone, then her husband would go back to loving her. Ends up telling the police where she hid Katie, and thankfully she was found alive and reunited with her family. Both Richard and Susan were arrested. Thankfully, this is a fictional story from the show Criminal Minds. If you want to watch the FBI's Behavior Analysis Unit catch more bad guys and solve more cases, you can watch Criminal Minds on Hulu.
Homemade cage for his head to stop smoking. He then gave his wife the keys and only she could open it during meals. The man's name is Ibrahim Yücel. He is a Turkish man. He was smoking 2 packs daily for 26 years and decided he wanted to stop one day. So he built a homemade cage out of copper. In my opinion, this thing looks like a torture device. And he didn't just wear this at home. He wore this outside, going to work, running his errands. He was dedicated to stop smoking. He started doing this in 2013, and I believe he is still doing this to this day. The only thing he could get through the cage was a straw from a bottle of water and maybe some crackers. He designed it in a way that you couldn't even sneak a cigarette inside there. He definitely knew he would be having withdrawals and planned this accordingly. Down here is a picture of his wife unlocking the cage for him, and over here is more of a close-up photo of the cage. And then here's a picture of him with the cage off right here. He's talking on the phone. I'm assuming he's having a meal and he's just chatting away. But honestly, props to him. If it works, it works. I'm not sure if I have any followers from Turkey, but if I do, let me know if you've seen this guy around. And let me know what you think about this story.
Weird facts.
Have you seen that before?
If you're coughing uncontrollably, just raise your hands above your shoulder and it will stop. Did you know that TikTok doesn't let you type Area 51? When crossing the street at night, turn on your phone's flashlight and point it toward oncoming traffic. If you think you're being followed, turn right 4 times, since you'll get to the same place they shouldn't be following you anymore. If they do, you might be in trouble. Don't walk down the stairs with hands in your pockets. If you type your big forehead, you get a warning. Blue color attracts mosquitoes and 2 times more than any other. Strawberries can also be white and yellow. Some even can taste like pineapples. You can't unalive yourself by holding your breath. If you search these coordinates on Google Maps, you will find a man dragging a body. Follow for more.
Really?
Nobody in the entire world can visit this
Bizarre.
island. Okay, so majority of Americans don't know about the Forbidden Island in Hawaii that is owned by one single family and nobody could visit. The island is called Niihau and it's extremely different from anything else in the United States. There is only a population of 70 people and they have no access to paved roads, telephone service, no running water, and the majority of the island lives off welfare checks from the US government. And with such harsh living conditions, it makes you wonder why anybody would even live on this island. And the real question is, if there's nothing to hide here, why can't anybody visit? Well, this rule that doesn't allow any outsiders onto the island was actually written into the agreement by the natives when they sold it to the Robinson family, all the way back in 1864.
Way back.
The Robinson family bought the island for $10,000 in gold, which is $325,000 today. And the crazy thing is that this family still owns the island. The Robinsons are also very focused on preserving the Hawaiian culture on this island that the natives did, so they go to church every Sunday, banned long hair for men, and kept the official Hawaiian language. But my whole opinion on this island is that if nobody can visit there and there's only 70 people on it, there's gotta be some crazy stuff going on there, right? There's just no way these 70 people are just completely normal living on this isolated island that nobody could visit. Let me know your thoughts on this, and also let me know if you've ever heard of this.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. There's a 1 in 3 chance police will never identify your killer if you were murdered in the United States. If the sun exploded now, you wouldn't know about it for another 8 minutes. 20% of children report hearing voices. There are 40 supervolcanoes around the world capable of claiming 1 billion lives. And we are about 24,000 years overdue for an eruption. The air you breathe in train stations is 15% human skin. There are over 200 dead bodies on top of Mount Everest, because retrieving them is such a risk. They serve as markers for other hikers. When you die, your house cat is going to want to eat you. Speaking of pets, dogs like squeaky toys because they mimic the screams of their prey. Yeah, there's a lot more. Like for part 2.
I know why my dog loves the squeaky toy so much. I never knew that. Be careful when you buy your squeaky toys for your dogs now.
Insane True Stories up now.
Morbid facts about Mike Tyson, Part 2. While visiting a zoo in the late 1980s, Tyson noticed an alpha silverback gorilla bullying all the others. He offered the zookeeper 10 grand to open the gorilla cage so that he could go in there and smash that silverback's snot box. Luckily for the gorilla, the worker declined the offer. Here's a 1997 photo of Las Vegas police facing Mike Tyson after he'd just bitten off the ear of Evander Holyfield. Tyson claimed he was in a primal blacked out state and literally wanted to kill his opponent. Mike had 6 biological children, but his little girl Exodus tragically died when she was only 4 years old. In 2009, Exodus was playing on a treadmill when she accidentally died from strangulation after falling and catching her neck on a power cord. 3 years after signing with Don King, Tyson didn't even know that he had a fan club. When he finally went there, he found a letter from a woman asking if Tyson could call her dying little boy. Tyson immediately called, hung up, cursed out Don King, then started to cry. He said that the call was 1 year too late.
If you were someone that...
Man, I was speaking facts about Mike Tyson. He went through a lot in his life, man. Because you guys know what happened between that Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight. How some people said they kind of didn't live up to the hype, but I guess he did what he needed to do, man. I guess to get that money.
You know, has small children, please watch this video until the end because it could save their life. Basically, Boppy baby pillows are being recalled after suffocating 8 children to their end.
What happened was that these 8 children were laid down to sleep on these pillows and woke up lifeless. The recall includes the original, preferred, and Pottery Barn Kids Boppy baby pillows, and if you own any of these, you can take them to a local store for a refund. These are being recalled all the way back from 2004 to September of this year, so if you own any of these from any of those years, you might be at risk. So please, never put any babies or young children to sleep in any of these, and if you know anyone with young children, please send them this video so they don't miss this life-saving information.
That's insane.
Give you hope. This woman swept out to sea while at the beach was rescued after 37 hours of drifting over 50 miles in an inflatable swim ring. Overdoses have decreased for the first time in over 5 years. This stranger saved a 4-year-old from a flying puck at a hockey game. Every country has now banned the use of leaded gasoline in cars, with Algeria being the last one a couple years ago. Bruno was able to get a fresh start and a new life after 473 days in a shelter. A study of over 2 million people found that eating cheese is healthy for aging because of the lower stress that you experience in life. The amount of sugar consumed by kids in the United Kingdom halved in 1 year after a sugar tax was introduced. Scientists have developed a glowing dye that sticks to cancer cells, which helps scientists prevent cancer from coming back. This nearly extinct pupfish has hit a 25-year high with their population. There are less than 200 of them in one single cave in the Mojave Desert of Nevada.
Here are 3 real ways to survive Ohio. The land of Ohio is a mysterious pocket dimension located within the continental United States that is widely regarded as being one of the most dangerous places known to man. With that being said, the easiest way to guarantee your survival of this state is to simply avoid visiting it altogether. This should be a relatively easy task since no one actually lives in Ohio. Remember, if you think you have family or friends to visit there, that's just the demons whispering in your ear, and those thoughts should be ignored entirely. Secondly, if you do somehow wind up in this desolate place, remember to ignore the locals at all costs. Their lonely state might inspire you to take pity on them and engage them in conversation, but be warned, if you speak to them, you will become as they are. Finally, above all else, you'll need to try and keep moving at all times in one direction. Time and space work differently in the state of Ohio, and it may feel like you've been walking in circles for hours or even days. But remember, every step that you take is a step closer to freedom. Leave a comment if you're enjoying this series, and if you know anyone from Ohio, tag them. It might help them escape.
Any of you guys know anybody from Ohio? I only know LeBron James, man. That's I do comes from Ohio, but I guess this TikTok, bro, wants us to avoid it, man. And because they be Ohio, Skippity Riz, Gyat, whatever, man. I think it originated there, bro. Oh, man, those TikToks, bro. Probably crazy, man, in Ohio, bro. Imagine walking down and see somebody yelling, "Gyat skibbity," bro. Oh, man. Interesting. Where is it at? They brought like a whole setup.
Did Did you know that Art the Clown played the Grinch in a horror movie? Yes, there is a horror slasher version of the Grinch, and it's called The Mean One. The story follows Cindy Lou Who after the Grinch kills her parents, and she grows up and she decides that she's going to make it her life's mission to kidnap the Grinch and to kill him for what he did to her. And Art the Clown himself, David Howard Thornton, plays the horror version of the Grinch, the mean one, and he brings so much personality to the character even through all of the paint and prosthetics. Like, look at these cool shot comparisons. This is the original Grinch, and here we have the horror version of the Grinch. The Mean One is definitely considered a horror comedy, so keep that in mind if you choose to watch it. It's also extremely bloody and extremely silly, which I feel like you would expect. My favorite part of the movie is when Cindy Lou Who, as a child, is being interviewed by cops to try to get an idea of what this guy looks like. The sketch artist draws the little girl's description and then in all seriousness is like, "Sweetie, is this what he looked like?" It's really funny that David Howard Thornton has gotten to play a horror version of Santa as Art the Clown, and he's also gotten to be a horror version of the Grinch. Pretty cool.
Why you should always respect Mother Nature.
You should, of course, never do what this guy did in that video, and viewer discretion advised for this one because there's no happy ending here. The man in the video that I showed you is 28-year-old Jacob Cockle. Jacob's passion was surfing and pretty much anything ocean-related, so he felt like the water was his element. This is likely why Jacob thought he would be able to best a whirlpool when it came to swimming by it. Initially, when Jacob jumped into the whirlpool, nothing went wrong. There were about 28 minutes of footage of him floating around on top, and this is because he had the safety of a wetsuit. Wetsuits trap a lot of air, they're very buoyant, and they're made out of neoprene. This particular whirlpool was not strong enough to take Jacob down when he's floating on the surface. However, Jacob made a grave mistake. At one point or another, Jacob decided that it would be a good idea to dive underwater to get more footage. This caused the buoyancy of his suit to drop, and the whirlpool became strong enough and sucked him down. Jacob was unfortunately not able to escape from the whirlpool's grasp.
Photos with disturbing backstories.
Stay out the water, man. Photos tell a story every single time, man. That's why I always pay attention to them, bro. That's an edit. She do that. We expert level now, bro.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. Sometimes you laugh, talk, and cry in sleep. It's often a spirit sitting beside you in bed. You are more likely to be bitten by someone in New York than to be bitten by a shark. A human head remains conscious for 20 seconds after being decapitated. If you search up this number on Google, you'll find people with their heads in fridges. Gelatin is made out of bones. That's right. The melted marshmallow in your hot chocolate is melted animal bone. It's good stuff. You have no way of really knowing if everyone experiences reality and consciousness the same way you do. If a panda finds a fresh carcass, they'll eat it. And last but not least, your phone is likely spying on you right now as you're watching this. Yeah, there's a lot more. Like for part 8.
Cover your camera on your phone, bro. You go to sleep.
Myths you still believe about Canada. Canadians see snow year-round. Well, the truth is that though the winters can be harsh, most of the country's population experiences summers that can make a Californian sweat. Most Canadians live near the Canada-US border and thus experience similar weather to what you'd expect in places like Boston or New York. Toronto is the capital of Canada. Well, Toronto does have the largest population and is probably the most famous Canadian city, but it's actually Ottawa, another Ontario city, that's the capital. As the center of political power, Queen Victoria chose Ottawa to be Canada's capital on December 31st, 1857. It was determined that with its location being on the border between Canada East and Canada West, its excellent defensive position and its access to 2 different rivers to cross the country in either direction, Ottawa was the perfect city for the title.
Skinwalker caught on camera.
The hell is that?
Please pardon the interruption. At this time, we are going to ask that students and staff proceed to conduct an internal lockdown. I repeat, this is not a drill. Please proceed to internal lockdown. 911 has been called. Remain in internal lockdown until instructed otherwise by a uniformed officer.
Okay, guys, I need everybody right away. Back corner and down, please.
In Ohio too, what the hell?
No cell phones?
Get as close to the wall as you can, crowd it together. Marcus, get this way. Get this way. Get away from the window. Davis, hurry up. Get away from the window. Press up to these desks. Hurry up. Guys, grab these desks.
Where's Skinwalker at?
Feminine things that were originally made for men. In Persia, men wore high heels to protect their feet. Then the Europeans looked and said, let's use them too, but they did it to show that they were rich, powerful, and masculine. In their culture, the higher the heel, the more masculine you were. Bags were also made exclusively for men. This is the oldest bag ever found made for men. It is entirely decorated with dog teeth because that was the fashion of the time. A system very similar to the disposable pads we have today was originally used in World War I to stop soldiers from bleeding. That's when a nurse noticed and thought, we can put this in our underwear and we no longer need to use rags as pads. Skirts were originally worn by men throughout the history of the world.
A killer clown.
I never knew that. Our reality's blown wide open. If you would have said high heels were made for men first, I wouldn't have believed you. We learning today.
Clown was just released from prison in Florida. This case dates back to May 26, 1990, when 40-year-old Marlene Warren opened her front door. In front of her was a clown holding balloons and a basket of flowers. Marlene stated, "How nice," before the clown fatally shot her in the mouth, then calmly walked away. Authorities suspected 26-year-old Sheila Keene for years, who was having an affair with the victim's husband, Michael. But unfortunately, there wasn't enough evidence to convict her. 12 years later, Michael and Sheila wed in Las Vegas, moved to Tennessee, and started running this burger joint called the Purple Cow. They lived happily as if nothing happened, and Sheila even had the audacity to dress up as a clown one year. But in 2014, Florida authorities received a grant that allowed them to reopen the case. Advances in DNA technology allowed them to test a brown hair at the crime scene. It belonged to Sheila Keene, who was finally arrested in 2017 and pleaded not guilty. But after 7 years in jail, prosecutors gave her a deal in April of 2023. In exchange for pleading guilty to second-degree murder, she received a 12-year sentence. A Florida law allowed credit for good behavior, and that is why she was released on November 2nd of this year.
Here's a test to see if you or someone you know has thalassophobia. Thalassophobia is the fear of deep or open water. Starting off at level 1, we have this image, and if you look at the baby's feet, you can see there's nothing. And that's what freaks people out, the fact that you can't see anything but feel like there's something watching you from below. If this freaked you out, don't watch the rest, because level 2 is even worse. Level 2, we have a person falling into a huge open body of water. And to make it worse, there's some sort of squid-like creature right in the corner. At level 3, we have the worst one yet. A person floating above a huge snake-like creature that we have no idea how big it is. And if you made it this far, congrats. Make sure you send this to a friend to see if they can pass the test and hit the follow button for more.
Maps will change the way you see the world. This map shows if your county has a McDonald's or not. If you're in a red county on this map, then you do not have a McDonald's, and there are 793 counties without them. This map shows the average weekly grocery bill across each state in the United States. Wisconsin has the lowest because Midwest states have the most farming around them. Hawaii and Alaska are the highest because of their isolation from the mainland food production. This map shows how fertility rates have decreased across the entire United States over the last 20 years. Louisiana had a tiny 0.3% decrease, while Utah had an over 30% decrease in fertility. This map shows the most common transportation methods in the United States to get to work. Most people in the United States are in a green county where it is driving alone. Orange counties are where people walk the most, yellow counties are where people take taxis or motorcycles more, and the red counties are public transportation counties, which is just San Francisco and New York City.
How y'all get to work, bro? Walk, driving, public transportation. I walk, bro. I'm a walker.
Everybody's talking about this new horror movie. It's awesome. Let's watch. I haven't watched it tonight. This movie, It's so scarring. I promise.
This is a serial killer you haven't heard of that has more victims than Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, and Jeffrey Dahmer combined. The Sunday morning slasher. Carl Eugene Watts targeted mostly young, attractive women walking alone in the dark. He would stab, slash, strangle, and drown them. Watts told a psychiatrist that they had evil eyes. And it wasn't enough to murder these women, he had to kill their spirits too, by burning personal items or tossing them in a sewer. His first victim was 19-year-old Gloria Steele, a mother and college student who was stabbed 33 times in her apartment. Michigan authorities knew he was responsible for dozens of murders, but they never had enough evidence to convict him. In 1982, Watts fled to Texas and resumed his murders, killing at least 12 more, including the youngest victim, 14-year-old Emily Lacroix. Now let's get to the moment he was finally caught. On May 23, 1982, Carl Watts choked Lori Lister until she was unconscious, then dragged her up the apartment steps. He used her keys to open the door and came face to face with Lori's roommate, Melinda Aguilar. Melinda was choked by Carl Watts as well, but this time she pretended to black out. He bound her hands behind her back and put her in a separate bedroom, while he filled up a bathtub where he planned to drown Lori Lister. With her hands still bound behind her back, Melinda quietly locked the bedroom door and proceeded to jump off a second-story balcony, where she yelled at a woman who was drinking coffee outside to call police. Unfortunately, Texas prosecutors offered immunity to Watts for the 13 murders he confessed to, in exchange for a 60-year sentence. Oddly enough, he was almost released from prison in 2006, but Michigan authorities were able to convict him of 2 murders before that could happen, and he died in prison in 2007 from prostate cancer.
Creepy facts that'll give you nightmares. When
justice.
anglerfish mate, the male literally fuses itself into the female and the two live together as one fish for the rest of their lives. I'm kinda concerned as to how we know this, but if you feed a human body to pigs, they eat every last bit of it. There's a place near Mexico City called the Island of the Dolls. This place is home to thousands of dolls that are there to honor a girl who drowned in the 1950s. Many people say that this place is one of the most haunted places on Earth. And finally, this is Mike the Chicken. After Mike's head got chopped off, he somehow managed to live a full 1.5 years headless.
You probably had no idea that digging a hole in the sand can be this dangerous. In 2024, Teresa and Jason were vacationing in Florida with their 7-year-old daughter Sloane and their 9-year-old son Maddox. They were at the beach when their kids began playing and digging in the sand. They dug a 4 to 6 foot hole when suddenly the sand collapsed, burying Sloane first and then her brother Maddox on top of her. Their parents were sitting only a few feet away and tried their best to quickly save them, but Sloane was sucked by the sand completely, like her whole body was in the sand, and Maddox was only sucked in from the chest down. People at the beach quickly tried to dig the sand out to help save these 2 kids, but the walls just kept collapsing in. And after calling for help, it took about 20 minutes to get the kids out. Maddox did survive, but Sloane unfortunately lost her life. This is so devastating because I've never heard anyone talk about this before. And seeing your child lose their life by doing something so innocent like playing in the sand, I don't know how you can ever get over that. It's been advised that children should not be digging deeper than 2 feet because of how dangerous this is.
These are some of the strangest crime stories you'll ever hear. A man once robbed a bank and wrote down his demands on a piece of paper that had his full name and his address on the back, which obviously led to his arrest. Smart guy. This woman and her children were in a Babies R Us when she decided to steal a crib, but on the way out she forgot to grab the stroller that had her kid in it. I mean, she kinda had one job. An intoxicated woman was once pulled over after driving in one of these things on the road. Yeah, like those things that you drove around in as a kid. And when they asked her what she was doing, she said that she wanted to be a professional wrestler and that this was how to do it. Not a good look.
Oh yeah, she lost it, bro. Driving down the road.
Gruesome facts you didn't know, part 112. If you ever have kidney stones, simply take a ride on Thunder Mountain at Disney. In 2016, researchers took a model kidney on the ride to see if this rumor was actually true. They found that sitting in the back seat of the coaster would pass kidney stones 64% of the time. Sitting in the front, only about 17% of the time. This photo from the early 1900s shows 2 boys who were exposed to the same smallpox source. One was vaccinated, one wasn't. In 2007, at the age of only 38, Mark Bamber passed away from heart failure. To accommodate his 700+ pound body, a special mahogany casket was made, which was nearly 8 feet long and 30 inches deep. At the time, there was no hearses that could accommodate a casket that large, so it had to be pulled by horse. After a horse riding accident, Emily Eccles was left with her jaw hanging on by only 1 millimeter of skin. Her surgeons said that her injury is the worst they've seen outside of a war zone. It took facial reconstructive surgeon Ricardo Muhammad Ali 5.5 hours to perform the surgery. This is her ready to go back to school just 1 month after the accident. In 1995, at the age of 61, artist William Utermohlen was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. From the time of his diagnosis until the year 2000, he created self-portraits, a powerful documentation of his descent into the illness. In 1923, jockey Frank Hayes won a race at Belmont Park in New York despite being dead. Mid-race, he suffered from a heart attack, but managed to stay in the saddle until he crossed the finish line.
I don't know how that was even possible, man. He still won that race. People didn't notice. That's eerie. Truly, man. Where he at?
Here's some interesting abandoned places that you haven't seen before. This is an abandoned traffic jam in Belgium, which looks exactly like something out of The Last of Us. Yeah. This is an abandoned bunker that just has a ton of old vintage cars sitting in there. Why'd they leave them all? This is an abandoned ghost village in Turkey known as the Burj Al Babas. It has 587 unoccupied castles, and it looks like something AI made to me, to be honest. This was Detroit's Mark Twain Library, which was closed in 1996 for renovations and never opened again. This was a German expedition cruise ship that hit an uncharted reef in the Sandfly Passage of the Solomon Islands. This is an abandoned theater in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I never saw this in the office. This is a car graveyard after a Chinese car company went bankrupt and had nothing to do with them. This is the eerie yellow brick road of the abandoned Land of Oz theme park in North Carolina, which actually I think has been reopened possibly since. This is another abandoned theater in Pennsylvania, which is where Scranton is too. Why are y'all abandoning so many theaters in Pennsylvania? This is an escalator in an abandoned mall that was reclaimed by nature. Also looks something straight out of The Last of Us, which makes sense because that takes place 20 years in the future when things are abandoned. I just love abandoned things.
Those two things did look like that last
Now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it. So the other day, a Reddit user posted this photo to Reddit. It's of his apartment at night. He had been complaining of hearing rustling noises in his apartment over the last couple nights. Many users thought they could kind of see something in this area of his kitchen, but I couldn't, so I looked at the brightened version. This is the photo brightened. And I know what you're gonna say, yes it does look like Keanu Reeves, but look at how tall he is compared to the fridge. But it gets so much worse. This is a video he took of his apartment at night where you can see something happen to the light in the kitchen. But let's look at the brightened version.
Like it was flickering. Is that like a legit person or a ghost or spirit, man?
Yes, it's terrifying, but is it a ghost?
Is it cat or fat?
This is gonna make you feel crazy. Doja Cat might have had something to do with what happened to him. After Matthew's tragic passing, Doja Cat deleted all of her videos except for this one. So obviously the comments on that video are crazy. People are like, what? Did you have something to do with this? She now deletes the video. There's nothing up now. Take a closer look at this logo and you'll see that something is off. Now the word friends is 7 letters, and in between each letter is a dot that represents each of the friends. You can see how it correlates to each one here. The dot in between the D and the E is gone. Why is one of them missing? This is just a conspiracy theory. I like talking about conspiracy theories. This is not a disrespectful thing. And this was a promotion for her new music video called Demons. And we all know how she's been recently, and all of the other conspiracy theories. Now I get that Friends is a popular TV show, but like, the timing's really weird. You can't deny that. Everything is intentional. How would this have been an error? Think about the kind of team she has. How would they forget the first dot? But the promotional photo came out exactly 2 months before what happened to him. And you remember he did all these weird Instagram posts right before he passed away. I made a post about that if you don't know what I'm talking about. Like, all of this weird stuff makes you wonder if he saw it coming. If you like my content, follow my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for more. It really helps when you interact.
What do you guys think about that one? That's kind of, I think, conspiracy theory. But a lot of what she was saying, I guess, was lining up. What do you guys think?
Top 5 most dangerous animals in the world. Coming in at number 5, we have the assassin bug, also known as the kissing bug because it's known to bite people on the face. People who are bitten by an assassin bug often contract Chagas disease, which can be deadly to humans. These bugs kill upwards of 12,000 people every single year and can be found in the southern half of the United States. At number 4, we have freshwater snails. Now I know what you're thinking, how can a snail be one of the most deadly animals on Earth?
Yeah.
Freshwater snails can have parasitic worms on them, which can get people sick from a disease called schistomiasis, which causes severe pain in the abdomen area. Anywhere between 20,000 to 200,000 people every single year die of this disease, making freshwater snails the 4th most deadliest animal on the planet. Like and follow for the top 3.
That's crazy, bro. Those small animals cause that much damage.
Here are some people who survived the impossible. A boy born with just 2% of his brain completely defied doctors' predictions after his brain grew to 80% of the average size. Doctors had told his parents to terminate the pregnancy not once, not twice, but 5 times. The chief baker on the Titanic, Charles Joe Finn, survived in icy waters for 2 hours before he was rescued. He claimed he didn't feel cold at all thanks to how hammered he was from all the whiskey he was drinking that night. In 1999, skydiver Joan Murray's parachute malfunctioned, causing her to fall 14,000 feet to the ground. But miraculously, Joan survived the fall only because she landed directly onto a mound of fire ants. Doctors believe that being stung over 200 times by the ants released a surge of adrenaline that kept her heart beating. In 1915, a distraught woman who was late to her sister's funeral demanded to see her one last time. So the coffin was raised out of the ground, and when it was opened, the dead woman sat up and smiled. She went on to live for another 47 years.
Buried alive? What the heck? We've been hearing clips of that, but bro, imagine being buried alive, man. Probably woke up like the damn, rose up like the Undertaker, bro. Scared her sister like that?
Let's talk about the disturbing story of the other game made by the Hungry Lamu developer, Untime. The full game playthrough is on my channel. We are going to go over the full story here in this short, but it's better if you experience it yourself. In this game, we play as a girl named Cersei. She recently moved out of town for an unknown reason, and she's starting a new life with a new job. Her brother still writes her letters, though, and he mentions in one of them, "We've moved on from Lila, it wasn't your fault." Not sure what that means, but okay. Before our first day of work, we hear about a serial killer on the news, and we say hi to our neighbor Ruth, who's doing her stretches in the front yard. Our boss at the bookstore's name is Boppy. He's a pretty rude guy, and he yells at us for being late. And after the shift is done, a running man passes us on the street and drops a watch that we pick up to sell. And it's here where the story starts to take a turn. About a month passes and we learn a few things. The serial killer was found dead. The scientist named Dr. Travis that worked at Sagier Labs, the same labs that put out a report about time travel and how it's actually possible. But instead of traveling through time, you really just jump to a different time in a parallel timeline, basically. This is important because that day we show up to work, Bobby yells at us for being late again, we snap, and kill him. Ruth sees us do it and calls the police. Right before they shoot us, we use the watch unknowingly to time travel. Yes, this same watch. Dr. Travis was using it to time travel and kill people. And now that's exactly what we're doing. We're time traveling to different timelines, killing Ruth and Bobby over and over and over again. But we eventually run out of timelines and we're killed by us. The original Cersei that was shot by the police still exists. Our consciousness was just transferred to a parallel timeline. Everything looped back around. And we can infer that our character Cersei was the one who killed Lila. I guess we've always been a serial killer.
If you see one of these hanging from someone's bag, run.
Oh, sorry, I meant these. Turns out they might be kinda demonic, so this is everything you need to know about the Labubu demon theory in 1 minute. These collectible toys called Labubus have been going crazy viral after a few celebrities were seen hanging them off their purses, and so everyone wanted one. They are these weird stuffed creatures with sharp teeth, evil grins, and angry looking eyes that can also be red. Not suspicious at all, right? Then many people came out online saying weird shit started happening right after they bought theirs. Stories of objects moving around their house, waking up with scratches, getting sick, and experiencing chest pains. One girl claimed she saw the eyes change color and this smile get wider. Another got in a car accident shortly after buying one. Either way, everyone just felt a creepy, unsettling presence around these toys for some reason. Well, now similarities are being drawn between the name Labubu and a demonic deity from Babylonian mythology called Pazuzu, who's known as the King of the Demons and is often depicted with animal features, sharp teeth, a grinning smile, and long ears. Looks familiar, and people got so spooked they started burning theirs and throwing them out of fear. And of course, Simpsons already called it over 7 years ago in an episode where Homer buys a literal Pazuzu toy for Maggie and she gets possessed. Celebrities endorsing behavior with weird demonic undertones marketed towards the youth has disturbingly become just another Tuesday in the 21st century. I do not claim any of this negative energy, and don't worry, neither do you.
Stay away from those Labubus, man.
To know. People who are good in math are the people who are always complicated in relationships.
Really?
The firstborn daughter is always the female version of her father. It is said that the nicest people always look mean at first. People who bite their nails are the smartest one. A girl's favorite song will tell you more about her feelings than her lips' voice ever will. Smiling too much is generally a sign of someone experiencing emotional pain. The people who spend a lot of time on the internet are mostly likely to be depressed or lonely. If you can't get someone off your mind, there is a 79% chance they feel the same way. Your body is weakest around at 3 to 4 a.m. This is when most people die in their sleep.
Oh?
Smart people get quickly annoyed by others.
You may not have noticed this secret message in Hereditary. But the big question is, how did the cult get Charlie, the little girl, to the high school party? They were people at his high school pretending to be his friend. They invited him to the party knowing Charlie might have come. On top of this, the mom forced Peter to bring Charlie with him to the party. We know that the cult members are his friends because in the ending scene, you can see the guy with the ponytail here and there. Also, if it isn't weird enough that they put nuts in a cake at a party, everything and everyone at the house party had the same colors as the cult. Also, if you put her chopping the nuts, it's the same rate as Annie bashing her head on the attic door. But now I got a lot to say about the girl he was going to see at the party. So when they were in class, they were talking about a parable involving Heracles, and they were talking about if it was bad that he couldn't avoid what happened to him because his fate was predetermined, and like whether that was tragic or not. And she said it's more tragic that he doesn't know that his fate could not be avoided, and that he will always think that there was something he could have done about it. This is obviously like foreshadowing. And then we go to that night, and Peter obviously regrets what happened and wishes he could have done something different. On top of this, her Facebook profile tells us her name is Bridget Mulp, and Mulp is the name of a siren known for beauty, danger, and seduction. Just like her. She lured Peter to this party, and that lured Charlie to her death. Because she was like, come upstairs with me. And that left Charlie alone to eat the cake that she was allergic to. Now look at her hand here on her profile. It's doing the same hand that the statue does. I'll show you it again. Let me know what movie I should do next, and come over here for longer videos.
She took the life of his 5-year-old brother and consumed his private parts. 5-year-old Macon Roque lived with his 18-year-old sister Karina and their mother Daniela in Brazil. On April 4th of 2019, Daniela had some shopping to do, so she left Macon back at home with Karina. Daniela returned home about an hour later, and for some reason she couldn't open the front door. She yelled out to her children to come help her to open the door, but Karina yelled back at her saying that she couldn't. Daniela started to worry, so she contacted her brother-in-law to come break down the door. Once they both went inside of the home, they were met with a horrific scene. Karina had taken the life of Macon, partially decapitated him, and mutilated him. At that point, the family dog attacks Karina. She retaliates and bites the dog. Karina then starts to attack her uncle by throwing things at him and hitting him. She even tried to flee the scene, but she was caught. Once police arrived at the home to investigate Macon's body, they noticed that his body was surrounded by black candles. Police truly believe that Karina was using Macon's body as part of a ritual. That's when police discovered that Karina had cut and eaten some of Macon's body parts. She was quickly arrested and taken to the police station, and at first she was not saying anything, but eventually she confessed to everything. Karina stated that she asked Macon if he wanted to come into her room to play some games, and of course he said yes. That's when she grabbed a pillow, pinned him down, and suffocated him. She then grabbed a knife and tried to remove his head, and he was left partially decapitated. The knife was then inserted into his eyes, and his feet were burned with a lighter. His private parts were then removed, and Karina ate them. Karina was charged with aggravated homicide, attempted murder of her uncle, biting the family dog, and hiding a deceased body. She was sent to a psychiatric hospital, and she continues to receive medical, social, and psychological care.
Yo, what's up? Here's some scary facts about our world that you probably didn't want to know. Part 21. Scientists claim that the research they have done shows that 1% of society meets the criteria to be a psychopath. That means 1 in every 100 people you meet will be a psychopath. It was said a long time ago that boiled toads would help cure rheumatism, which is arthritis, and that feeding rotted mice to children would help with their bedwetting problems. Have I wet my bed before? Moving on. Oh yeah, this is just a fact to remind you that there is a brain-eating amoeba out there that if you get water through your nose or in your ears, that it could possibly, eat your brain. At an abandoned wildlife park in Australia, there is a fully preserved shark found still in the tank filled with murky waters. Oh my gosh.
Really? A fully preserved shark? They didn't try to remove it or anything? I don't know about that one, man. Won't be going there if I go to Australia. Where we at? In the middle of the night. It'd be a brave soul to do that. Something blinking.
Look, after Selena Gomez, Jennifer Lopez, Celine Dion, Cardi B, and even Justin Bieber, it's now singer Billie Eilish's turn to deal with a mysterious illness. What's happening to her is truly creepy. Most people discovered her back in 2018 when everything seemed to be going great for her. But now, listen to what she confessed to these two people.
I'm never feeling happy, so why would I write about things I don't know about? I feel the dark things. I feel them very strongly.
Unfortunately for her, on that day, the two doctors didn't understand what she was trying to explain. So she decided to try a different approach. She started drawing the monsters she sees in her nightmares. Here are some of the drawings she made.
Oh, this song. This is the drawing of this song. Because the whole song is about, monsters under your bed.
They're just terrifying. But wait, it gets even creepier. Hidden messages are said to exist in her song, When the Party's Over. And these messages, they're spine-chilling. You can hear them by playing her music in reverse. But hold on, because the second hidden message is far worse. She says something that sounds like a cry for help. It's as if she's being threatened by something powerful. Could it be that she too made a pact at the start of her career, like so many other artists allegedly have? If you like my videos and want to support me, click the link in my bio.
People who survived the impossible. Part 3. A 42-year-old Russian fisherman was viciously attacked by a brown bear in 2014, but he was spared when the ringtone his granddaughter installed onto his phone suddenly went off. Justin Bieber's song Baby miraculously sent the bear running back into the woods like a bitch. Titanic survivor Dick Williams spent over 6 hours waist deep in freezing waters before being rescued. Doctors wanted to amputate both of his legs, but he refused because he wanted to continue playing tennis. He made a full recovery and went on to become a US tennis champion in mixed doubles. In 2014, 3-year-old Karina Chikatova survived in the Siberian wilderness for 11 days with nobody other than her dog. She ate wild berries, drank from a river, and curled up with her dog for warmth. She was saved when her dog managed to find her village and guide rescuers toward her. In 1915, Mexican man Wenceslao Moguel was sentenced to execution and shot 9 times by a firing squad. But he managed to survive every shot, including the coup de grace, a final shot to the head at point-blank range to ensure death. He went on to live for another 70 years, finally dying in 1976.
Police accidentally ended her life for entering the wrong home. On May 16th of 2010, a TV show called The First 48 was filming in Detroit. This show documents homicide investigations and police raids. That night, the show's camera crew alongside the Detroit Police Department arrived at the home of the Jones family. Inside of the home was 7-year-old Ayanna Stanley Jones, who was asleep on the couch, and her grandmother Myrtilla Jones. It was very late at night and the police were executing a search warrant for the arrest of Chauncey Owens. He was a prime suspect in the murder of a 17-year-old who was fatally shot outside of a liquor store. TV crews started filming as soon as the police broke down the door and threw a flashbang grenade into the home. The blinding flash and deafening noise caused immediate chaos. Myrtilla dropped to the ground and pleaded with police officers to not use excessive force because her granddaughter was inside of the home. As she was laying on the floor with guns pointed at her, she noticed that Ayanna's blanket had caught fire. When she tried to put the flames out, she noticed that Ayanna was bleeding from her mouth. Officer Joseph Weekly had entered the home and fired a single shot. That bullet had struck Ayanna in her head. She was rushed to the hospital, but she was pronounced dead shortly after. Myrtilla was taken into custody after the officer claimed that she tried to grab his gun. She was released the next day, and the First 48 crew had captured the entire thing on film.
4K.
Police later confirmed that they were targeting Ayanna's uncle, who lived in the upstairs unit, which meant they entered the wrong home. On October 4th of 2011, the officer Joseph Weekly and the First 48 producer Allison Howard were arraigned. Officer Weekly was placed on paid leave and pled not guilty because he claimed he didn't know there were any children inside of the home because he didn't see any kind of toys. He claimed that he had his hand on his gun once he saw Myrtilla moving when she was helping Ayanna, and he accidentally pulled the trigger. All remaining charges against Officer Weekly were dropped, and once Ayanna's family heard about this, they were heartbroken. The city of Detroit reached a settlement and gave Ayanna's family $8.6 million in damages. In April of 2015, Officer Joseph Weekly returned back to work like normal. In 2016, he was appointed co-chair in the Detroit Police Committee. As for Allison Howard, the former producer of the First 48, she had lied under oath about sharing the footage to a third party. She was charged but later accepted a plea deal and she was given probation. In 2016, what would have been Ayanna's 14th birthday, the Black Lives Matter movement held a rally in her memory.
That's a tragic story, man. Truly. All because they entered the wrong apartment, bro. How did they not know they weren't in the right place? Preparation, man.
Hate is dividing the internet, but regardless of what you believe, there is a tiny little baby out there missing, and it's terrifying. So let's take a look together at what the hell has gone on here.
I got him out of the car seat, and I laid him down and so I could get his diapers ready. And somebody said, "Hola," and that's all I remember. And I saw white. And a hearing sound, I fell on the floor, and I said, as I got up, I couldn't find my son. I checked all around my truck, and I ran into Big 5, and I asked the lady if she saw a baby or someone with a baby. She said no. It was a happy boy. He smiled.
Whoever took our son, please give him back.
Now, as you can probably tell from that clip, police are currently searching for a tiny little 7-month-old baby called Emmanuel Harrow. He was reportedly kidnapped in San Bernardino County, California. So just days ago, on the 14th of August, just before 8 p.m, the child's mum said she was parked outside a Big 5 store. She said she needed to go and buy a mouthguard for her other son, and she noticed her baby, who she was carrying at the time, needed his nappy changing. So she said she went to the back of the car that she was in to get him changed when someone said hola, and then all of a sudden it went white. She couldn't see anything, and she just stood up. She had been knocked on the ground. She stood up and she was unable to see her child anymore. Obviously you can see from that clip that the mum does appear to have a black eye, and surely there would be some kind of CCTV from the car park, which I hope police are looking into. The parents were apparently watching some sort of sports game for one of their children, and they have 4 other children as well as this baby. Police have stated that the mother's story did have inconsistencies. I don't know what they are, and they aren't ruling out foul play. Now, they didn't release any details about potential attackers, no sort of descriptions of the person who potentially stole this baby. He stated that Rebecca, the mum, was confronted with some of the inconsistencies in her story, and she declined to continue with the interview. Now, this could obviously be for many, many reasons. Canine team, so like the dog team, were brought in to try and trace the scent of the child, because sometimes that is how they can track missing children, but unfortunately the dogs weren't able to pick up a scent. Emmanuel's parents are urging anybody with information to come forward. Rebecca stated, "I'm begging you, if you know anything, please. I'm begging you to bring him back."
What do you think, Seekers? About that case? Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a like button, hit that like button, follow me on social medias. You guys are gonna catch me in the next video. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.